A report on whether history should be made a compulsory subject until grade 12 will be released today. A ministerial task team was appointed in 2015 to host the inaugural roundtable history debate. And Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, is expected to release the report. At present, pupils take history up to grade 9, and then they may choose differently in grade 10. The team is responsible for the review and strengthening of the content of history in the education system. And joining us on the line is a DA Shadow Minister of Basic Education, Ian Ollis. And good morning to you, Mr. Ollis. Thanks so much for your time. Just your view in terms of reinstating history to be a compulsory subject and what the content of that history is likely to look like.
Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for having me on your show. The idea to make history a compulsory subject is really a flawed one. We had this discussion in the Basic Education Committee in Parliament. And I made the point quite clearly that history is an important subject, but it should not be singled out from other very important subjects which learners need to take. For example, people need to have subjects like maths and science and practical subjects like computer studies and metalworking and woodwork, accounting and languages, the languages they're going to need to use in order to get a job. To single out history and not those other very important subjects is really a mistake. We raised it in the committee. Angie Motshekga, the Minister of Basic Education, actually agreed with us in the committee that in fact history should not be singled out because it is a subject like all of the other subjects and that the learners need literacy, numeracy and so on in more detailed subjects in the FET phase or the higher phase.
No, and I understand what you're saying, that in preparing a learner for the world, of course, you have to have the various vocational subjects that will prepare you to be able to take advantage of opportunities. But what about the adage that how do you get to your future if you don't know where you're coming from? For example, that if we don't understand the context of the South African demographics and dynamics and why things are the way they are, it then becomes difficult or limiting in resolving the unique challenges we have.
That may be true for socio-political issues, but that certainly isn't true when you're going to become an accountant and you're going to need maths, you're going to need languages, you're going to need computer skills to be able to use, say, Excel spreadsheets and that kind of thing. One mustn't get wrapped up in political ideology when it comes to school subjects. Learners need to be prepared for the job market, otherwise they're going to be unemployed. They also need to get university entrance. And if they're going to be focusing on history and not languages, not numeracy, not maths and science, biology, accounting, computers, they're not going to be as marketable when they want to get a job, and they're going to find difficulty getting into the universities. The subject of history is not going to help that. We mustn't be sidetracked by political ideologies when we help learners. Learners need to be able to get a job first and foremost. It trumps everything else in terms of other views. We've got to help learners to prepare for the job market.
No, granted, but I'm just coming back to the fact that we spoke to the South African National School Governing Body General Secretary, and he was of the view that the history that we have been taught is largely Eurocentric, that we now need to focus on exactly the developments of our own, I suppose, our nation and where we come from to deal with the social ills that we have. Over and above that, to create the necessary industries, opportunities to redress those particular challenges.
I think that history is an important subject. As I said at the very beginning, I don't think that history is not important. And I do think that one has to look at the curriculum to see whether really it represents our society and our history as a country, as well as obviously international history. One wants to know what happened in the Communist Revolution. One wants to know what happened in the Second World War and why the United States is like it is, why South America is like it is historically. One wants to have a broader international perspective, and one also wants to understand one's own country, one's own history, and how we got to where we are. I personally took history as a subject until matric and got a reasonably good mark. We are not saying as the DA that history is not a crucially important subject, but what we're saying is that it should not be singled out and made a compulsory subject when you don't make maths and science and languages and computer studies.
All right, Mr. Ollis, I
subject.
think we get you. Thank you so much for your time. We're joined on the line by DA Shadow Minister of Basic Education, Ian Ollis, reacting to the report that we're anticipating from Minister Angie Motshekga on history being reintroduced as a compulsory subject up to grade 12.